The quiet calm of Valeric's Vale had returned, but nothing would ever be the same. Jason Rourke sat in the council chamber. Around him were Corellan elders, human representatives, and exiles from many worlds. They all looked at the small child, sitting on Queen Zalari's lap. The baby Celaya was no longer an infant. She had grown fast, as hybrids often did. Her skin shimmered with silver and gold, and her bright violet eyes held an intelligence far beyond her years. "Is she really ready?" Jason asked quietly. The eldest Corellan, the same woman who had tested him months before, nodded. "She is more than ready. Celaya's power is strong, but her greatest strength is her heart." Jason looked at the child. She smiled, reaching out her tiny hand to touch his face. He felt warmth spread through him. This was no ordinary child. She was the symbol of a new future. The council meeting had been tense. Some members wanted to use Celaya's power to control the galaxy. Others feared her potential for destruction. But Queen Zalari spoke with a voice full of calm and strength. "This child is not a weapon," she said. "She is the bridge between our worlds. Our people must learn to live together. Celaya will show us the way." Jason stood beside her. "I promised to protect her, to protect all of you, and I will." A human general sitting across from him nodded slowly. "Lieutenant Rourke, your bravery and honor have earned respect. But this alliance is fragile. We must work together." Jason glanced at Zalari. She smiled slightly. Together, they were no longer enemies. They were partners. After the council, Jason walked outside. The air was fresh. The sky was bright with stars and distant planets. Celaya played nearby, laughing as she chased light wisps created by the station's technology. She was fast, curious, and already learning to use her powers carefully. Jason watched her and thought about how much had changed. Not long ago, he was just a soldier, fighting a war he didn't fully understand. Now he was a father, a protector, a symbol of hope. That night, Jason sat with Queen Zalari in the palace garden. The plants glowed softly in the dark. "I never imagined this," Jason said. "That I would be here, with you, with her." Zalari looked at him with gentle eyes. "Neither did I. But life has a way of surprising us." Jason took her hand. "Do you think the galaxy will ever accept this?" "Us? Our child?" She squeezed his hand. "They will have to, because Celaya is the future." Jason smiled. "Then we have work to do." Days passed. News of the human-Corellan alliance spread slowly. Some planets welcomed peace, others resisted. But Celaya grew stronger each day. She could heal wounds with a touch, sense emotions from miles away, and even calm storms with her mind. Jason taught her about Earth, the blue planet he called home. Celari told her stories of Corellan history, honor, and sacrifice. Together they raised a child born of two worlds. One afternoon, as Jason trained with the new Alliance soldiers, a young Corellan warrior approached him. "Lieutenant," she said respectfully, "I have heard the stories of your courage. You are a great leader." Jason smiled. "Thank you. We all fight for the same goal now." She nodded. "Celaya is special. I wish to serve her." Jason looked at her seriously. "Then serve the future. Protect her. Help her grow." The warrior bowed. "It will be an honor." Years later, the small family stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Celaya, now a teenager, stood between her parents. Her eyes shone with strength and kindness. The crowd below cheered as she spoke to the gathered leaders. "Today," Celaya said, "we begin a new era, one where humans and Corellans stand together as one. Together we will build a galaxy of peace and hope." Jason's heart swelled with pride. He looked at Zalari. "We did it," she smiled. "Together, The journey had been long and hard, from a battlefield mistake to a new beginning. Jason was no longer just a soldier. He was a father, a protector, and the heart of two worlds. Jason Rourke sat at the edge of the alien chamber, still wearing his battered armor. His eyes stayed on Queen Zalari, who sat in silence on the stone bench across from him. She hadn't spoken in hours. The air inside the ruined palace felt heavy. The energy vines had dimmed. Even the ground seemed to hold its breath. The queen's silver fingers rested lightly on her lower stomach. Her glowing eyes were not angry now, but distant, cold, and deep in thought. Jason finally spoke. "I didn't know what the med pod was doing. I swear, I just wanted to save your life." Zalari turned her head slowly. Her voice was calm but sharp. "Intentions do not erase consequences, human." "I know," Jason said quietly. She stood up and walked toward the center of the room. Her royal robe trailed behind her like smoke. "Do you understand what has happened?" she asked. "What you caused?" "I think so," Jason said. "You're pregnant, because of me." She narrowed her eyes. That word, pregnant, sounds so small. But this is not small. This is sacred, forbidden, a merging of royal life with an alien species. Such a thing has never happened. Not even in myths. Jason lowered his head. "I didn't ask for this. Neither did you. But it happened. And I'm here now. I'm not going to run." The queen stared at him in silence for a long time. Then, she said, "In Kirilan law, you are now bonded to me, the consort, a position only one male in 10,000 years has ever held." Jason blinked. "Me? Your consort? But I'm just a soldier. I didn't even mean to—" "It does not matter," she said sharply. "The pod accepted your DNA. It followed ancient code. It fused your essence with mine. That is enough." Jason swallowed. "So what happens now?" The queen didn't answer. Later that day, a Corellan scout ship arrived to collect survivors. Jason sent a coded message to his command and requested a pickup. But the queen refused to be taken by the humans, or to return to her own people. "Neither side can know," she said. "Not yet. They will not understand. They will fear the child." Jason frowned. "You think they'd try to hurt it?" "Yes," she said softly. "And maybe me." She turned away and whispered, "There are those in my court who would see me dead if they knew I had bonded with a human. My bloodline must remain pure, they say. I am no longer pure in their eyes." Jason stood beside her. "Then we find somewhere safe." She looked at him carefully. "You would run with me? After what happened?" "I wouldn't call it running," Jason said. "I'd call it protecting. You didn't ask for this, but neither did I. Still, it's happening. So let's make sure no one gets hurt." She was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. They escaped aboard a small stealth shuttle Jason had recovered during the mission. It was old but fast and cloaked. The two of them sat side by side in silence as stars streaked by outside the window. Jason set course for a neutral world, a place called Soran's Edge, far beyond human or Corellan territory. It was a rogue station filled with exiles, travelers, and outlaws. A place where no one asked questions. Queen Zalari spent most of the journey inside the ship's meditation chamber. Jason watched her through the doorway sometimes. She sat cross-legged, hands over her stomach, breathing slow and deep. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know how. He had been trained to fight, not to father royal children, and yet every time he looked at her, this alien queen with silver skin and glowing eyes, he didn't see a monster or an enemy anymore. He saw someone who had lost everything just like him. They arrived at Soran's edge 3 days later. The station floated above a dead moon, patched together from old wreckage and stolen tech. The docking bay was full of strange creatures and dangerous-looking people. Jason kept his hand on his sidearm, but Solari walked with her head held high. She wore a long cloak now, her face partly hidden, but her presence still felt regal. They found shelter in a quiet sector run by exiles from old Kirilan colonies. Zalari used an old royal seal to earn temporary protection. No one knew she was the queen. To them, she was just another noble in hiding. Their room was small, a curved pod chamber with 2 beds, a shared wash unit, and a window looking out into space. That night, Jason stood by the window, staring at the stars. "You still don't trust me, do you?" he asked quietly. Solari sat on the bed behind him, brushing her long silver hair. "Trust is earned, not given." He turned to face her. "Then let me earn it. I don't want power or glory. I just want to help. I'll protect you. And the baby?" She looked at him. "You speak as if this child is already yours." Jason shrugged. "Well, part of her is. Or him." Zalari tilted her head. "You feel a connection?" "I don't know," Jason said. "But I know I care. And I didn't expect that." She stood slowly and walked toward him. "You are strange, human. In my world, males do not speak so gently, not even to their own blood." Jason smiled sadly. "I guess we do things differently." She looked up into his eyes. For the first time, her gaze softened. "You are not what I expected," she said. Jason replied, "Neither are you." The next morning, Jason woke to alarms. Red lights flashed across the station. Doors slammed shut. People screamed outside. He jumped up and grabbed his weapon. "Stay here!" But Zalari was already moving. "No! We are not safe!" Outside their chamber, soldiers in black armor stormed the halls. Jason recognized the armor instantly. They were human black unit operatives, an elite force that worked in the shadows. If they were here, that meant Earth knew. He turned to Solari. "They found us." She nodded. "They want the child." They ran through the station, dodging patrols and blaster fire. Jason led her through maintenance tunnels and hidden passages he had discovered on the map. They reached an old launch bay, one last chance to escape, but a group of Black Unit agents blocked the path. "Give us the Queen!" their leader shouted. "Stand down, soldier, that's an order." Jason aimed his rifle. "She's under my protection now. You want her? You go through me." The agent raised his weapon. Then something strange happened. Solari stepped forward. She raised her hand and the air shimmered. The agents stopped moving. Their eyes rolled back. One by one, they collapsed to the floor. Jason stared. "What did you do?" The Queen was breathing heavily. "The child, it lends me strength. She is awake, and she knows we are in danger." Jason rushed to her side. "Can you still move?" She nodded weakly. They ran. Hours later, they reached orbit in a stolen shuttle. The Queen lay in the back, her energy nearly drained. Jason piloted in silence, heart pounding, but she was safe. For now. He looked back at her and saw something new in her eyes. Not fear, not anger, but trust. The stars stretched endlessly around the small shuttle as it drifted in deep space. Inside, Lieutenant Jason Rourke sat at the pilot's seat, watching the scanner. His body was tired, but his mind was alert. He had no room for mistakes now. Behind him, Queen Zalari rested on the narrow cot. Her breathing was slower than before. The pregnancy was moving fast, faster than anything Jason had ever seen. Alien biology, he thought. Part human, part Kirilan, a child no one expected. Jason turned in his seat. "We can't stay in space forever," he said gently. "We need a safe place." The Queen opened her glowing eyes. There is one, she said. A place called Valeric's Vale, hidden, neutral. It is sacred ground to many exiled Kirilan clans. Jason nodded. Can we trust them? She looked at him. No, but they may still help us, especially if I tell them who I am. Valeric's Vale was a strange world, a floating ring-shaped station built around a glowing crystal moon. The place shimmered with ancient energy. Refugees, monks, exiles, and forgotten warriors all lived there in quiet unity. It was not under human or Kirellan control. It answered to no one. Jason landed the shuttle at a private dock. 2 robed guards stood waiting. They didn't ask names. They simply said, "You are expected." The Queen looked surprised. "They felt me coming," she whispered. Jason helped her down the ramp. Her steps were slower now, more careful. A soft light glowed beneath her skin, especially around her stomach. "She's growing fast," Jason said, walking beside her. Zalari nodded. "Too fast. The child's mind is already active. She speaks to me." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Speaks? You mean like telepathically?" "Yes, in images, in feelings. She is aware." Jason placed his hand gently on her arm. "Then we need to keep her safe." They were brought to a large hall carved from dark crystal. Inside, dozens of old Kirellan exiles sat in a circle. Most wore robes. A few had weapons. All had glowing eyes that watched the Queen with silent judgment. An old woman stepped forward. Her antenna-like crown was made of stone and bone. "You wear the royal mark," she said to Zalari. "But we have heard whispers of a union, a child, a human." "Consort," Jason stood firm. "That's me." The room grew tense. "Your presence here is dangerous," the elder said coldly. "If the high families learn of this place harboring you, they may burn it to the ground." "I didn't ask to be part of this," Jason said. "But I'm not walking away. I'll die before I let anyone harm her or the baby." The elder studied him for a long time. Then she turned to Zalari. "You are still our queen. But if the child is real, she must be shown." Zalari nodded. She stepped forward, placed her hands on her stomach, and let her energy rise. Light burst from her body in soft waves. A ghostly image of the growing child appeared. Small, glowing but powerful. Her tiny hands were folded, her eyes already moved behind sealed lids. The exiles gasped. Some fell to their knees. "The prophecy," one whispered. "A child of 2 stars, born of union, bearer of peace or doom." The elder walked closer. Her hand shook as she reached toward the image. "You bring us hope, Queen Zalari, but also danger. Many will come, some to protect, some to kill." She looked at Jason. "You must be tested, human. You must prove you are worthy to stand by this queen and this child." Jason met her eyes. "Tell me what I need to do." While Zalari rested in a private chamber, Jason was led to an arena carved into stone. It wasn't for blood. This was a test of will, speed, and judgment. 4 challenges waited: balance, reaction, trust, and defense. Jason faced each one. He crossed a narrow beam while visions of earth and war tried to distract him. He dodged glowing arrows from a blindfolded monk. He placed his life in the hands of a stranger who caught him from a deadly fall. And in the final trial, he stood unarmed as a Kirellan warrior charged him with a blade. Jason refused to flinch. Instead, he said, "I won't raise a hand unless you mean to harm her." The warrior stopped. The crowd watched in silence. Then the warrior saluted him. Jason passed the trial. Back in the chamber, Zalari smiled faintly when Jason returned. "You are changed," she said. "I think I understand your people better now," Jason replied. "At least a little." She took his hand, softly, without words. It was the first time she had touched him without hesitation. That night, they sat under the glowing moonlight of the veil. The queen leaned against him, her energy weak, but peaceful. "She's growing." "Stronger," she said, touching her stomach. Jason nodded. "She's going to be something incredible." Zalari looked up at him. "You are strange, Jason Rourke. For a soldier." Jason smiled. "And you're strange for a queen." She laughed softly. Then her face grew serious. "There is something you must know," she whispered. "The child is not just powerful. She is attracting attention, psychic echoes, far voices. Something ancient stirs." Jason's eyes narrowed. "What kind of voices?" "Old enemies, forgotten watchers, creatures beyond stars. They fear what this child could become, or they desire her." Jason stood up, suddenly alert. "We need to leave. We need better protection." Before she could reply, an explosion shook the chamber. The veil was under attack. Unknown ships appeared in orbit. Cloaked, fast, silent. Not human, not Kirellan. Something else. The station shields held, but enemies had already landed. Black-armored invaders poured into the halls, firing weapons of light and shadow. They were hunting. Jason grabbed his rifle. "Stay behind me!" The queen's eyes glowed bright. "No, we fight together." They moved quickly through burning halls. Exile warriors rose to defend them. Strange weapons clashed in the narrow corridors. Jason fought like a lion, fast, smart, fearless. But they were outnumbered. He turned to find Zalari standing in the center of a circle of attackers. They raised their weapons. Jason screamed, "No!" But before the blasts could fire, the queen raised her hand, and the world exploded with light. When Jason woke up, he was in a medical pod. His chest was burned, his body weak. But he was alive. Zalari sat beside him, holding his hand. Her face was pale, but her eyes were strong. "You lived," she said softly. "What happened?" Jason asked. "You stood between me and death," she replied. "You took the full force of the blast." Jason looked down at his bandaged chest. "Guess I passed your test after all." She smiled sadly. "Jason, the child. She protected us both. She used her power. She is more than either of us now." Jason touched her hand. "Then we protect her. Together." Zalari nodded, but outside the chamber, the exile elders whispered. The child had shown power no one expected. Enemies had attacked. With weapons unseen in this galaxy, and far away across space, others were watching. The stars above Valeric's veil looked calm, but war was coming. Deep inside the healing chambers, Queen Zalari lay on a bed made of crystal and vines. Her face was pale. Her glowing skin had dimmed. Her breath came in slow, shallow waves. Beside her, Jason Rourke sat, his body covered in fresh scars. He had almost died protecting her, and now she was the one at the edge. "Hold on," he whispered, gripping her hand gently. "You're not alone." She opened her eyes, barely. "She is ready," the queen said. "The child wants to come." Jason's heart raced. "Now." Zalari nodded. "She pushes. The energy inside, it's too much for my body." Jason stood quickly and tapped the healer panel. "We need help." The old Kirellan medic came rushing in. His long fingers glowed as he touched the queen's forehead. "This is not normal," he whispered. "The child. She is releasing power too fast. The queen's body was not built for a half-human birth." Jason looked at the queen, terrified. "What can we do?" "She will need to enter the birthing pool," the healer said. "It is sacred, ancient. It may be her only chance to survive." Outside, the elders of the Exile Council were gathering in silence. Rumors had already spread. The child would be born today. But not everyone was happy. Some whispered that the child's power would bring peace. Others feared it would bring war and... Far above the station, new ships entered the system, dark, sharp, and silent. Jason stood by the birthing chamber as Zalari floated in the glowing pool. Her body shimmered with light. The vines wrapped around her gently, feeding her strength. "I can feel her," the queen whispered. "She is not afraid." Jason held her hand. "Then neither am I." Suddenly the chamber shook. Alarms rang through the veil. The healer's face turned grim. "Enemies have come." Jason turned to the monitor. Outside, dozens of warships appeared. Human, Carolyn, and unknown ones. "They all came," he muttered. "For her." The main gate of Valeric's Vale exploded as the enemy forces landed. The exile warriors fought bravely with ancient weapons, but the attackers were many. Laser fire lit up the halls. Screams echoed. Walls cracked under pressure. Jason grabbed his rifle. "Stay with her," he told the medic. "I'll hold the gate." "You cannot stop them all," the healer said. "I don't need to," Jason replied. "Just enough to buy time." He kissed Zalari's forehead gently. "I'll come back." Her glowing eyes opened, full of fear and hope. "I believe you," she whispered. Jason ran through the burning halls. His armor cracked, his rifle low on charge, but he didn't stop. He was a soldier, a protector, and now, a father. He reached the ancient gate, where a handful of exile fighters stood, ready to die. Jason raised his weapon. "Let's make it. Count." The first wave hit them like a storm. Human black ops, Carolyn assassins, unknown shadow creatures. Jason fought like a demon, covering his allies, using every trick he had learned in war. He took a burn to the leg, a blade to the shoulder, but still he stood. One enemy reached the inner hall. Jason chased him down, tackled him near the queen's chamber, and fired his last shot point blank. Smoke filled the corridor. Jason limped back, blood dripping from his side. "I'm not done yet," he muttered. Inside the birthing pool, Queen Zalari cried out. Energy surged around her like lightning. The healer backed away, eyes wide. "It is happening!" The queen's body lifted into the air, glowing with power. The vines pulled back. The pool flashed with white light, and then silence. A soft cry. A new sound. The queen floated gently back into the pool, now holding a small child in her arms. The baby glowed with silver and gold skin. Her eyes opened, bright violet, brighter than any star. The healer whispered, "She is beautiful." The queen, weak but alive, held the child close. "She is perfect." Jason stumbled into the chamber, half bleeding, barely conscious. His eyes landed on the queen and the child in her arms. He dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. "She's here?" he asked. Zalari smiled through tears. "She waited for you." Jason crawled forward. His hands shook as he touched the tiny child. The baby looked up at him and smiled. She reached out and touched his chest. A soft glow appeared over his heart. The pain faded. The wound closed. Jason blinked. "She healed me." "She knows you," the queen whispered. "You are her anchor, her strength." The attackers were retreating now. Some were afraid. Others were confused. A few knelt, sensing something new had arrived. Something more powerful than war. The queen's voice echoed across the veil, her thoughts broadcast through the child. "Enough. There will be no more killing. This child is not your weapon. She is not your curse. She is the future. And she will not be yours to control." And the attackers stopped. One by one, they lowered their weapons. Some fled, some bowed, and the war was over. just like that. Later that night, the Vale was quiet. The fires had been put out. The walls were being rebuilt. Jason sat beside Zalari, on a crystal platform overlooking the stars. The child, Salaya, they had named her, slept peacefully in Zalari's arms. Jason looked at them both, eyes full. "She's not just a baby," he said. "She's a miracle." Zalari nodded. "She is everything we never planned for, everything we feared, everything we needed." Jason looked at her gently. "You almost died." She looked back. "So did you." "But we made it," he said. She smiled. "Yes, human, we made it." Far across the galaxy, old powers watched in silence. The child of two worlds had been born, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war was finally over. After 7 years of fighting, the human and Corellan empires had agreed to peace. Both sides had lost millions. The skies of Kiral Prime, the alien homeworld, were dark with smoke, and the once beautiful cities now stood in ruins. Lieutenant Jason Rourke, a young human soldier with short, dark hair and tired eyes, stood among the broken stone of the palace gates. His squad had been sent in for cleanup. No more battles, just search, rescue, and confirm that the last enemy strongholds were gone. But Jason didn't feel safe. He walked alone through the great hall of the alien palace, holding his rifle close. The place was too quiet. The air was thick with a strange scent, spice and blood. The Corellan palace had once been a place of music and light. Now it was dead. "Command, this is Rourke," he said into his comms. "No contact. Proceeding to the inner chambers." "Copy, Rourke. Stay alert." Jason stepped deeper into the ruins. Strange glowing vines still clung to the walls. Corellan architecture was living, half plant, half stone. Even ruined, it pulsed with strange energy. Suddenly, his scanner beeped. Life form detected. Close. Weak. Jason raised his weapon, heart racing. He turned the corner and stopped. There, curled up in a broken biothrone, was a figure, a female. Her skin was pale silver, smooth like glass, and her long arms were marked with golden symbols. Her eyes glowed faintly, but she was breathing, barely. Jason lowered his rifle. He had studied the Corellan leaders during training. This was no soldier. This was the Queen, Queen Zalari, the last ruler of the Corellan Empire. And she was dying. Jason stepped forward slowly. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Her glowing eyes opened halfway. She stared at him, confused, then alarmed. She tried to rise but collapsed again, hissing in her language. "I'm not here to hurt you," Jason said gently, lowering his helmet. "The war is over. I'm here to help." She didn't understand. Or maybe she did, but didn't trust him. Jason checked her vitals. She had several wounds, and her energy levels were dangerously low. He looked around the chamber and spotted a med pod, a floating oval device used for healing. It was cracked, but functional. Jason lifted her carefully into his arms. She was light, fragile. He carried her to the med pod and activated the interface. Alien symbols lit up. He used his translation tool to guess the right command. "Begin healing process." The pod opened. Jason laid her inside, and the shell closed with a hiss. Then the interface changed. The screen glowed red, then gold. Symbols scrolled fast. Jason frowned. Something was wrong. The screen said, "Emergency reproductive preservation mode. Consent confirmed. Genetic fusion initiating." "What? No, cancel!" Jason tapped the screen, but it ignored him. The pod locked. Needles and light entered the Queen's body. Her breathing changed. Jason's stomach dropped. He had triggered something, some alien system meant to preserve the royal bloodline in emergencies. The pod thought he was her chosen mate, and it was now using his DNA to fertilize her. No. "This isn't what I meant," Jason shouted, banging on the side of the pod. But it was done. The pod glowed blue. The screen displayed, "Gestation initiated. Hybrid viable." Jason stepped back, heart pounding. His hands shook. He didn't understand it all. But one thing was clear. He had just impregnated the alien queen. Queen Zalari opened her eyes again hours later. She was out of the pod now, resting on a healing bed made of living moss. Jason sat nearby, watching her with a nervous look. She stared at him. Then she sat up slowly and placed a hand on her stomach. Her face changed. Shock, confusion, horror. She looked at Jason, her silver eyes sharp and glowing. "You," she said in broken English. "What did you do to me?" Jason stood up quickly. "It was an accident. You were dying. I put you in the pod to save you. I didn't know it would do that," the queen hissed. Her voice shook. "Human seed. In royal chamber. Forbidden." Jason raised his hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought it was just for healing." She stood, shaking slightly, and backed away. In Kirellan culture, the royal merging was a sacred act. It happened once in a lifetime, only with a chosen consort. Only in the ceremonial chamber. Jason had broken that law by mistake, but the result was still real. She was pregnant, with a half-human child. Jason saw her eyes flash with anger, pain, and fear. "I'll leave if you want," he said quietly. "But I didn't mean to hurt you." She stared at him for a long time. Then she said, "You do not understand what you have done." Jason looked away. "You're right, I don't," she whispered. "This child is not just blood. It is prophecy, danger, war, or peace." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer. She just turned away, holding her stomach, her silver robes flowing behind her like smoke. Hours later, Jason contacted his command. "I found the queen. She's alive." His commander's voice came back, sharp. "The queen? That's impossible. The palace was supposed to be empty." Jason hesitated. "She was injured. I used a med pod to heal her." A pause. "Was it a working Kirellan pod?" Jason nodded slowly. "Yes. Rourke, those pods are ancient tech. Some of them have reproductive override functions. Please tell me you didn't activate one." Jason swallowed. "It activated itself. Son of a..." the commander cursed. "Listen carefully, Lieutenant. You need to keep this quiet. If the Kirellan high houses find out the queen is carrying a human hybrid, this peace deal will fall apart." Jason looked back at Zalari, who was sitting silently on a stone bench, eyes closed, face pale. "I don't think she wants anyone to know either." "Good. Then stay with her. Protect her. Do not let anyone near her until we figure this out." Jason nodded. Understood. He ended the call. Then he walked back toward the queen. She opened her eyes as he approached. "I'll stay with you," Jason said, "no matter what happens." She stared at him for a long time. Then, softly, she replied, "You already have."